Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are starting with the neural controlling coordination chapter, which is just prior to the chemical controlling integration, and we will be starting with this chapter today using these slides. So, neural control and coordination in the human body is very important part for the normal functioning of our body. Uh, Along with the chemical control and integration, the neural control and coordination works and help in the basic physiological functions and all the day-to-day activities of our body. So we have learned in our last chapter, the chemical control and integration, that neural, the nerves cannot provide the point-to-point nerves do the point-to-point coordination, but they do not present on every tissue or the every part of the body. Therefore, we need the chemical controlling coordination. So here we will be knowing about the neural controlling coordination. A macro to micro structural analysis of point-to-point biological networking. So it is basically the wired networking. We have learned in the last chapter that the neural controlling coordination is the wired networking, whereas the chemical controlling coordination is the wireless broadcasting. So moving ahead, here is a demand for synchronization. Organ functions must be coordinated to maintain the homeostasis. The main aim is to maintain the homeostasis. The physical exercise loop. We are triggering the muscles to because of the activity we are performing. So muscular activity increases. What it does, it demands higher energy and oxygen requirement because muscle need to do the anaerobic respiration, as you all know. Anaerobic respiration happens in the muscles, due to which there is a lactic acid formation, break formation due to the pyruvate breakdown, and there is the higher energy demand and oxygen requirement. So what does the response create? Response is elevated rate of respiration to cope up with the oxygen requirement, increased oxygen requirement. We elevate the rate of respiration, heartbeat, and the blood flow. What does the response created? It creates the recovery point. The organs gradually return to the normal resting conditions. So while we do any physical exercise, we trigger the muscles because of the muscular activity increase. It creates a demand of high energy and oxygen requirement, and in response there is the elevated rate of respiration, heartbeat, and the blood flow. And after this, a state of homeostasis comes, in which the organs gradually return to the normal resting conditions. The body utilizes two parallel systems. For this integration, the neural system, rapid point-to-point coordination, network connections, and the endocrine system, the chemical integration via hormones. So moving ahead, human neural architecture. Human neural system is basically formed of two parts: the CNS, the central nervous system, and the PNS, peripheral neural system. CNS comprises of the brain and spinal cord. You might be very aware about these terms. The brain and spinal cord together forms the CNS, central neural system. It is used for information processing and control. Where is the peripheral neural system? All the nerves that are associated with CNS, all the spinal nerves or the cranial nerves, these are the part of peripheral neural system. So PNS fibers are further divided into afferent and efferent. There is a difference between afferent and the efferent fibers. The afferent fibers transmit from tissues to central nervous system. Afferent मतलब आता है. It is coming towards the central nervous system. Whereas efferent E for exit. So they are going out of the central neural system and going to the tissues. So afferent मतलब आता है. So afferent मतलब आता है. It is coming towards the central nervous system. So it is coming from the tissues to central nervous system, whereas efferent means exit. So it is transmitting from the central nervous system to the tissues. So now efferent fibers are further divided into somatic neural system and the autonomic neural system. So basically what is somatic neural system? They transmit the impulse from the central nervous system to the skeletal muscles. As for somatic, as for skeletal muscles. As for somatic, as for skeletal muscles. And the autonomic neural system, it transmits from central nervous system to the involuntary organs. The skeletal muscle is voluntary, whereas the CNS to involuntary organs, the nerve transmission is done by the autonomic neural system. It is basically divided into the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The basic regulator is our parasympathetic nervous system, where the sympathetic nervous system comes in role in case of the flight or fight response, in case of the catecholamines release, and in stressful situations. So let's see what is the hardware, the neuron. So basically, neuron is the smallest unit of our nervous system. Neuron makes up the nervous systems. So one single neuron, talking about one single neuron, it consists of three basic parts: the dendrites, the axon, and the cell body. These are the basic part of the neuron. You might have studied about this in class 8, 9 to 10. And moving ahead, the cell body. Cell body contains the cytoplasm, typical cell organelles, and the granular body is called the Nissel's granules. Nissel's granule is also present in the cell body. So, talking about dendrites, dendrites are short generally, and these are highly branched fibers projecting out of the cell body, and they also contain the Nissel's granule. So, Nissel's granule is found in the dendrites and the cell body, not in the axons. So, what is the function of dendrites? It transmits the impulse towards the cell body. So, they are taking information towards the cell body. They are not dispersing the information, they are taking the information towards our cell body. As you can see, they are taking impulses towards the cell body. And cell body and the dendrites contain the Nissel's granule. These are the granular bodies. Talking about axon, the longest single fiber with branched distal end. Its proximal end, proximal means nearer, and the distal means away from the cell body end. So nearer to the cell body, it is the dendrites, and away from the cell body, that is the distal end. And so axon is the distal end, which is branched. Each branch terminates in a bulb-like synaptic knob containing neurotransmitter vesicles. You can see each axon knob is terminating in a bulb-like structure called the synaptic knob, and it contains the neurotransmitter vesicles. Function is to transmit nerve impulses away from the cell body. They are taking the impulses away from the cell body, and they might be giving the information to another dendrites of another neuron. Let's see the structural classification of a neuron. They can be multipolar, they can be bipolar, they can be unipolar. Polar means having a pole. So multipolar, having many poles. So one axon, two or more dendrites. So here we can see there are two or more than two dendrites, whereas the axon is only one. And its primary location is in the cerebral cortex. You have to remember the examples. The multipolar neurons are present in the cerebral cortex. Multipolar and cerebral cortex, you can remember these because cerebral cortex is a vast structure. So many poles can be present in the cerebral cortex. Whereas bipolar neurons having the two poles, we can remember it like we are having the two eyes. So the retina of the eye, that is our retina of the eye, it is the bipolar neurons are present. So eyes are two in number. So these are bipolar. Retina of the eye is bipolar. It is having one exon in the one dendrite. You can see there is one exon in the one dendrite. Unipolar neuron. Unipolar neuron has only, it is having the cell body with one exon. So cell body and one exon. It doesn't have the dendrites. Primary location is usually found in the embryonic stage. So embryonic stage has the unipolar neuron. You can remember in embryonic stage we are zygote only, we are the single cell. Single cell means unipolar, single means uni. So you can remember like this. Bipolar having present in the retina of the eyes, because eyes are 2 in number, 2 means 5. And usually found in the embryonic stage, that is a single cell zygote, whereas we can correlate single cell and single means uni. So unipolar neurons are present in our embryonic stage. So the axon seed matrix. There are two types of nerve fibers on the basis of myelination on the axon. So myelinated nerve fibers and the unmyelinated nerve fibers. So how's the structure of myelinated nerve fibers? They are enveloped with Schwann cells, whereas unmyelinated nerve fibers are enclosed by the Schwann cells. Schwann cells is present in both the nerve fibers. Myelin presence. Schwann cells form a thick myelin sheath around the axon, whereas in case of unmyelinated nerve fibers, Schwann cells are present, but they do not form the myelin sheath. Nodes of Ranvier are present in the myelinated nerve fibers because they form the gaps between the adjacent myelin sheath. Whereas in unmyelinated nerve fibers, the nodes of Ranvier are absent because the fiber is smooth and continuous. The primary location of myelinated nerve fibers, they are found in the spinal and the cranial nerves, the main nerves of our body, the spinal and the cranial nerves. Whereas the unmyelinated nerve fibers are found in the autonomous nerve and the somatic nervous system. Autonomous and the somatic nervous system. Somatic nervous system was, that is transmitting the impulses from CNS to the skeletal muscle, and the autonomous nervous system was CNS to the involuntary organs, and it can be parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. Moving ahead, the resting potential, a polarized state. So we can see neurons are excitable cells because their membranes are polarized. Why are neurons excitable cells? Because their membranes are polarized. So at rest, the membrane is more permeable to the potassium ion and nearly impermeable to the sodium and the negatively charged proteins. The resulting gradient, high concentration of potassium and the negative proteins inside, high concentration of potassium and the negative proteins inside, whereas the high concentration of sodium outside. So sodium is high in concentration outside, whereas the potassium is higher in concentration with the negative proteins inside. The active mechanism happens then. The sodium potassium pump maintains this gradient via active transport. So the example of the active transport is sodium potassium pump, leaving the outer surface positively charged and the inner surface negatively charged. So to make the outer surface positively charged, whereas the outer surface is already having the higher concentration of the sodium ion, so what does the sodium potassium pump does? It does it it puts the three sodium outside the cell and 2 potassium inside the exoplasm. So we can see because of the more number of sodium ions outside, there is a positive charge created outside the cell, whereas inside the exoplasm there is the negative charge due to the less number of positive ions. Moving ahead, the spark generating an action potential. A stimulus is applied to a specific site on the polarized membrane. Only a specific site of the polarized membrane got the stimulus. There is the rapid depolarization. The membrane becomes freely permeable to sodium ions. A rapid influx of the sodium rushes into the cell. So, due to the rapid influx of the sodium ion into the cell, there is the rapid depolarization. So, the question may be asked like, um, uh, in case of the rapid depolarization, which of the following occurs? There is rapid influx of the sodium ions, there is a rapid efflux of the sodium ions, there is a rapid influx of the potassium ions, there is a rapid efflux of the potassium ions. So the answer will be rapid influx of the sodium ions. Whereas if the sodium potassium pump was doing work, it is pushing the free sodium outwards. Whereas in case of rapid depolarization, the sodium comes inside the cell. Polarity reversal. Then happens the polarity reversal. The outer surface becomes negatively charged. Earlier it was positively charged, and the inner surface becomes a positively charged. This localized electric potential difference is the action potential. We can call it as the nerve impulse. This resolution node. What is the resolution node here? The rise in sodium permeability is extremely short. Okay, so the rise in sodium ion permeability is extremely short-lived. It is quickly followed by potassium diffusing outside the membrane, restoring the resting potential. Now let's learn about the signal propagation. So how an impulse travels continuously from the one side to the next. So inside A, there is depolarized state. Inner surface is positive, whereas the outer is negative. And depolarization happens because of the influx of sodium ion. Influx of sodium ion occurs from the outside to inside. So inside there will be more positive charge. Then talking about the side B, at side B there is a resting membrane potential and it is basically minus 70 millivolt. It is basically minus 70 millivolt. And in resting potential, the inner surface is negative and the outer is positive. It is due to the sodium potassium pump. You can remember it by Nokia. I have remembered it by Nokia only. N for sodium ions, O for outward. So you can remember 3 sodium outwards and potassium ion inwards, 2 potassium inwards. So because of the increase in the positive charge in the outer surface, the inner surface becomes negatively charged and the outer is positively charged. Moving ahead, the current flows on the inner surface from A to B. Current always flow from positive charge to negative charge. So in the inner surface, the current is flowing from A to B, whereas on the outer surface, the current flows from B to A to complete the circuit. The result, the polarity at side B is reversed, generating a new action potential there. This sequence repeats sequentially along the length of the axon. The synapse slow down. A nerve impulse is transmitted between a presynaptic and a postsynaptic neuron through junctions called synapses. So there can be two kinds of synapses, electrical synapse and the chemical synapse. Electrical synapse is quite rare, but we will be studying about the electrical synapse and the chemical synapse. Electrical synapse proximity is membranes of the pre and the postsynaptic neurons are in very close proximity. There is a very little gap, or we can say there is no gap. Whereas in the chemical synapse, the membranes are separated by a fluid-filled space, and it is known as the synaptic cleft. The transmission in the electrical synapse, electrical current flows directly from one neuron into the another because there is no gap. Whereas in case of chemical synapse, it relies on the chemicals called neurotransmitters released from the vesicles. We have learned about the axon bulbs. The distal part of the neuron have the axons, which terminates into the bulbs, and they carry the synaptic vesicles. Electrical synapse is faster transmission, whereas the chemical synapse is slower. The occurrence of electrical synapse is quite rare in the human system, whereas the chemical synapse is standard neural junction in the human system. Bridging the gap, the chemical transmission. So, chemical transmission, the pathway can be the arrival of the impulse. The action potential arrives at the axon terminal. Vesicle fusion stimulates synaptic vesicles to move toward and fuse with the plasma membrane. So synaptic vesicles will fuse with the plasma membrane. Then the release. The neurotransmitters are released into the fluid-filled synaptic cleft. Binding. The chemicals bind to the specific receptors on the postsynaptic membrane. Activation. Ion channels open, allowing the entry of ions to generate a new potential, excitatory or the inhibitory. So we can see here the axon terminal is shown here. It is the presynaptic neuron. Then the synaptic vesicles are shown here. It is the axon bulb. It is the axon bulb. And the presynaptic neuron is shown. It is containing the synaptic vesicles, containing the neurotransmitters in them. And then at the synaptic cleft, the synapse, there is a release of the neurotransmitters. These are the neurotransmitters. These all are the neurotransmitters. So these are released, and there is the binding of the neurotransmitters. The specific receptors of the neurotransmitters are present on the postsynaptic membrane. This is the postsynaptic plasma membrane containing the specific receptors to bind to the neurotransmitters. And then there is the activation of the receptors, and the ion channels open, allowing the entry of the ions to generate a new potential. The command center cranial protection. The brain processes information, controls voluntary and involuntary movements, balance, thermoregulation, circadian rhythm, and the human behavior. It is well protected by a layer of defense system. The skull, the outer rigid bone protection. Skull is made up of how many bones? Skull is made up of, I think, 22 bones. Skull is made up of 22 bones, out of which 14 bones are facial bones and 8 bones are cranial bones. So, skull is outer rigid bone protection. Dura mater. Talking about dura mater, dura mater is the tough outer cranial meningeal layer. It is the outermost. You can remember the cranial meninges from outer to inner as DAP. Dura, arachnoid, pia. So second layer is the arachnoid layer. It is very thin middle layer, whereas the last layer is the pia mater, the inner layer in direct absolute contact with the brain tissue. So which layer is in the absolute contact with the brain tissue? It is the pia mater. You can remember it by DAP. Dura mater, arachnoid, and the pia mater. Let's talk about the brain architecture, the forebrain. So you may remember that forebrain, it is the largest part of our brain because it consists of cerebellum. The major part of the brain is the cerebellum. It divided longitudinally into the left and the right hemispheres, connected by a tract of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. So the left and the right hemispheres are connected by the tract of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. Let's talk about the second part of the forebrain, that is the thalamus. So thalamus is the structure the cerebellum wraps around. A major coordinating center for sensory and the motor signaling is the thalamus. talking about hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is located at the base of the thalamus. It contains the center for controlling body temperature, urge for eating and drinking. Contains neurosecretory cells that release hypothalamic hormones, as we have learned in the chapter chemical control and integration. The hypothalamus is also known as the master of the master gland because it has the neurosecretory cells which release the hypothalamic hormones, which can be inhibitory or excitatory. It acts on the pituitary gland for the secretion of the different hormones. Majorly, the hypothalamus synthesizes the two major hormones that are the oxytocin and the vasopressin or the ADH. So, these hormones are secreted by the hypothalamus and transmitted to the posterior pituitary to the axonal nucleus, whereas there is a portal system to transport hormones from the hypothalamus. So, where is the anterior pituitary containing the pars gestalis and pars intermedia are connected to the hypothalamus via the portal system. Moving ahead, the cerebral cortex, the gray and the white matter. So, you might have heard it many times about the gray matter and the white matter. What we are learning about the cerebral cortex, the opposite is for the spinal cord. In the cerebral cortex, the outer layer is the gray matter, whereas the inner layer is the white matter. Whereas in the spinal cord, the outer layer is the white matter and the inner layer is the gray matter. So, talking about the cerebral cortex only, the gray matter is outer layer. The cerebral cortex is thrown into prominent folds. Why is it gray? The neuron cell bodies are highly concentrated here. What are concentrated here? The neuron cell bodies, because of which it is grey in color, giving its color. What is the function of grey matter? It contains the motor areas, sensory areas, and the large association areas responsible for complex functions like intersensory associations and the memory communication. Whereas the white matter, it constitutes the inner part of the cerebral hemisphere. Why is it white? Fibers of the tracts are covered with an opaque myelin sheath, giving a white appearance. What is the function of white matter? It transmits signals to and from the cortex. Moving ahead, the limbic system, the emotional core. Inner parts of the cerebral hemisphere plus deep structures like amygdala and the hippocampus plus hypothalamus, it forms the limbic system. So, limbic system basically consists of the inner parts of the cerebral hemisphere, deep structures like the amygdala and the hippocampus and the hypothalamus. These constitute the limbic system. It is the emotional center of our brain. The key functions of the limbic system is regulation of sexual behavior, the libido, expression of the emotional reactions like the excitement, pleasure, rage, fear, anger, motivation. So you can remember what are the constituents of the limbic system and what are the functions of the limbic system. Moving ahead, let's see the brain architecture, the midbrain and the hindbrain. We have already talked about the forebrain, the parts of the forebrain, the cerebrum, the thalamus and the hypothalamus. Let's talk about the midbrain and the hindbrain. The midbrain is located between the thalamus or hypothalamus and the pons. Pons varioally, the part of the hindbrain. So, the midbrain contains the cerebral aqueduct. Dorsal portion features 4 round swellings called the corpora quadrigemina. It is the distinguished features in the human brain. Talking about the hindbrain consists of 3 parts: the pons, cerebellum, and the medulla. Here it is cerebellum. In forebrain, it is the cerebrum, and cerebrum is the major part of the brain, whereas the cerebellum is highly convoluted surface to provide additional space for many more neurons. Okay. Moving ahead to the pons, the fiber tracts that interconnect different regions of the brain. Talking about medulla, medulla connects to the spinal cord. So medulla connects to the spinal cord. It contains the centers that control respiration, cardiovascular reflexes, and the gastric secretions. Let's see the structure of brain. There is a cerebral hemisphere, There are two cerebral hemispheres, the left and the right, which are connected by the corpus callosum, fiber tracks. Moving ahead, the thalamus. This is the thalamus. This is the hypothalamus. This is the midbrain, and this is the pons. The fiber track that connect the different interconnect the different regions of the brain. This is the medulla, the control center for respiration, cardiovascular reflexes, and the gastric secretions. The spinal cord is connected by the medulla and the cerebellum for the balance and the posture of the body, and it is highly convoluted surface to provide additional surface to many more neurons. Moving ahead, the synthesis, the circuit in action. So the main processor is the central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord. So signal crosses chemical synapses into the hindbrain medulla, the core processing center for respiratory control. What is the trigger for the processing of the respiratory control? The trigger is exercise lowers the oxygen and increases energy demand in the muscle tissue. So the person is exercising, and which is causing the decrease in the oxygen level and increase in the energy demand in the muscle tissues. What is the input? The peripheral nervous system, the afferent neurons transmit sensory data via fast moving action potential depolarizing sodium influxes. So processor is the central nervous system. The signal crosses the chemical synapses into the hindbrain, the medulla part, the core processing center for respiratory control. The result is homeostasis. The involuntary muscle system, the heart and the lungs, accelerate instantly, syncing entirely with the voluntary skeletal muscles. The output or the sent by the peripheral nervous system, efferent neurons of the autonomic neural system fire immediate signals output to cope up with the respiration, to the increase in the to cope up with the decrease in the oxygen level in the blood. So this was all about the chapter neural control and coordination. I hope you understand this chapter. If you do understand the chapter and like my explanation, I would be very thankful if you like, share, and subscribe this channel. Thank you for listening me out. Have a great day. Bye.